Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, it's been a very strange thing come up today. What do you think about this? So, Prince Harry, of course, who is currently sort of living in California with Meghan and their two children, and he's been having this court case. Because what's happened is security has been withdrawn from them. So his argument is it's unsafe for him to come to the UK unless he comes under official circumstances, you know, if he's invited by Charlie Boy. And because otherwise he doesn't get security, so he won't come under those circumstances. Well, he has been, but he won't bring his wife Meghan or the two children because he says it's just not safe. I mean, I don't know what you think about that. Personally, I agree with him, really. It probably isn't safe for him because Harry and Meghan are such divisive figures, aren't they? Some people think they're absolutely brilliant, other people think they're absolutely terrible. So I think he's right to worry about his security, personally. But anyway, he's lost the case. And then boom, straight after losing the case. So he must have already recorded this interview, I think, personally. I can't see that he just suddenly recorded it afterwards. Did he record it before in the expectation that he might have lost the case? Anyway, even though he's lost the case, the judge has said no. He upholds the decision to not award him security or special security. Just does seem a bit strange to me. But anyway, that's, what do I know? But, and he will appeal it. He will definitely appeal it. But then, boom, out comes this interview. Let's have a look we can only look at segments of it that Sky News must have been allowed to show. The full interview, I'm not sure when it's coming out. The full interview will be on the BBC.
So many disagreements, differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. But
yeah, of course, he wrote his book, Spare, didn't he? That a lot of people, there's two camps in this, isn't there? A lot of people felt that the book that he wrote was embarrassing for his father. Other people thought the book that he wrote was refreshingly honest and, and he had every right to write it and publish it. So I think, very everything in this world today is divisive, isn't it? Nobody seems to have a middle ground view about Harry and Meghan, do they?
There is. I would love reconciliation with my family.
That's quite sweet, isn't it? He's saying he would love reconciliation with his family.
No point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has.
Yeah, and he's come out with this, of course. Charles has cancer, isn't he? He's undergoing treatment for cancer. We don't know which kind of cancer it is. But he's trotted off to visit the Pope. He's going to Canada soon. Doesn't seem to have affected him. He seems to be, like a stalwart, sort of, powering through his chemo, etc. But of course, he will be getting the very best treatment. We have to understand that, because a lot of people, chemotherapy is a horrible, horrible thing, isn't it? Even though it saves people's lives. And what we have to remember is that a lot of, ordinary people out there, not only they have to have the chemotherapy, but then they have to go home, look after the kids, clean the house, go to work, find their way to the hospital, do all those things as well. Now, of course, Charles won't be having to do all those kind of things. He'll be being looked after, he'll be getting the best treatment. But, he does sort of go and do his royal duties. He's done them, most of the time through it. I think he only had to cancel once, didn't he? But it's funny him saying that. He said, I don't know how long my father's got left. Does that mean he doesn't know how long his father's got left because of the cancer, or just because his father, at the end of the day, is approaching 80 years old?
He won't speak to me because of this security stuff.
Yeah,
but it would be nice.
He won't speak to me. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. Why would he not speak to him because of the security stuff? Surely you would want his son and his grandchildren to be safe. I honestly just don't get it. At the end of the day, Harry, whether he's, removed himself from his royal duties or not, he is part of the royal household. And if he was my son, with your own children, even if you wouldn't want your son to be in danger, would you? And certainly not your grandchildren. So I don't really understand why they've withdrawn this security. But anyway, let me know what you think, of course.
It would be nice to reconcile. As I learned through the First Nations throughout Canada, because of the Invictus Games, their goal in life was always truth and reconciliation. And I turned around to them in many conversations, and I said, right, but reconciliation can't come without truth. Well, I've now found out the truth. I've shared some of it with you today. A lot of it exists out there, whether people choose to ignore it or not. So it would be nice to have.
Wonder what he means by that. I've now found out the truth. I've shared. So, of course, these are just snippets from this interview.
Of that reconciliation part now. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them. I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. I love my country. I always have done.
Yeah, so he hasn't been able. I don't think the children have ever visited. So I think the last time that Meghan was there was probably for the Queen's funeral, was it? And they would have got security then because, he was expected to come for the Queen's funeral, so he would have received the full security. I think this contention is that if he wanted to come, I don't know, he has to come on Charles's invitation. My understanding is he has to be invited by Charles for the security to be full. So he won't come. He's not getting invited by Charles because Charles isn't speaking to him. And he won't come in any other circumstance, because he won't bring his family with them and risk their lives. It's a funny old situation, isn't it? Surely, I mean, he's having an interview and saying this. Surely you'd think he could just ring Charles up and say, look, Dad, let's sort this out or whatever. It seems very odd. But of course, Shamila will be behind a lot of it because she's apparently, isn't she, the wicked witch of the royal family? I believe that 100%. I think whoever's stirring anything up here, it's probably to do with Shamila.
Despite what some people in that country have done.
Labour and Conservative. The Conservative vote is in meltdown, and it's coming to the Liberal Democrats. I think lifelong Conservatives.
I mean, that's a whole other thing. It's been quite dramatic.
It's another jaw-dropping moment in the royal saga, isn't it? He's bristling with anger, isn't he, Harry, and resentment and mistrust of the royal household, and despair.
wouldn't say he was bristling with anger, would you? I didn't feel like he was bristling with anger. He seemed very sad to me. That's how he seemed. But anyway, you know, I'm more perhaps on the Harry and Meghan side, and maybe I see it in a different way.
Over his father's attitude, I suppose, is just such a sad and sorry saga. You know, I'd hoped that eventually then there might be some kind of reconciliation. But he clearly, although Harry says he wants reconciliation, he doesn't see he can do that now. And I thought, you know, where he said, the other side have won in keeping me unsafe. That's one heck of a statement, isn't it?
The other side of one in keeping me unsafe. Who is the other side? It's got to be Shamila. Don't think he means his dad, does he? Does he mean Charles? Who are the other side? I wonder. Let me know what you think.
Deeply, deeply angered, as he says. And I don't know where he goes from here.
He says he wants a reconciliation. Some will wonder why he didn't say that sooner than now.
Well, he seems to think the truth has to be established first. And obviously he feels at the moment there is some untruth going on still. As I say, he seems to be so full of mistrust of the royal household and anything to do with the palace. He feels that there is some kind of conspiracy, it would seem, that imprisoned him and imprisons others within the palace walls, really, and that because he has been so brazen as to escape, he's now being punished. That clearly is how he feels. And he does not believe that he can bring his children back to meet their grandfather, even though, in his own words, he doesn't know how long his father has got to live.
Oh, you know, so this. Now, as you know, I'm not a royalist. I would love to see the back of the royal family, to be honest. But I like the way that Harry tries to make everything real. You know, like he's so like his mum, isn't he? Because he's broken away so far from royal tradition, like of not saying anything, not discussing anything private, and he's just gone completely the other way. And he's talking, you know, he's hanging out all their dirty washing, isn't he, in public? And they don't like it, do they?
Yes, let's focus on that, because in recent days and weeks, Jenny, we've seen the king.
There she is, the wicked witch of the West, Shamila.
Perhaps be a little bit more open about his cancer diagnosis. Is that what Harry is alluding to, rather than the king just being in his mid-70s? Well,
I presume that Harry knows a little bit more than the rest of us about what's going on with the king's health. Having said that, the palace are still very upbeat about the king and the direction he's going in with his treatment. And we have just learned today that he and the Queen are going to Canada later this month, and he's going to open the Canadian Parliament. So who knows exactly what's...
Yeah, so the king's off to Canada. Let me just put that down, because that... really, I want to see. Let's see what Harry says. That's important. I think the reactions. This was the decision
letter
by the judge,
and subsequently were taken, I said in my judgment, as an understandable and perhaps predictable reaction to the Duke of Sussex having stepped back from royal duties and having left the UK to live principally overseas. So the conclusion, in my judgment, with which my colleagues, Lord Justices Bean and Edis, agreed, was that the Duke of Sussex's appeal would be dismissed.
Yeah.
Well, our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills is outside the Court of Appeal.
His appeal has been dismissed.
Already taking. I mean, I've lost count of the number of Labour people who are saying to me...
It's only Harry that, I mean, I don't really want to talk about reform.
There have been so many disagreements, differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left.
Yeah, well, now I'm sure you'll let me know what you think in comments, but personally, I don't blame him. That's his wife's life, his children's life. It's Charlie Boy's grandchildren's lives. And he deserves that security when he comes to the UK.
Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. But
what though?
You know,
what?
There
now, I don't know if when this interview comes out, we're going to know what won't they forget? What has he done? I mean, let's just be realistic here. Yes, he wrote a book, and it did probably display, talk about the royal family in a way that they don't like being talked about. But excuse me, but I don't feel sorry for them at all. He's wrote a book. But I don't think he was really horrible. He did that Netflix thing with Meghan. I don't think he's ever said anything really, really horrible about the royal family. He doesn't like Shamila, you can tell that. But he's not going to like Shamila, is he? Shamila was having an affair with his dad while he was with her mum, his mum. Don't forget who his mum is. And this is what I never understand with William. He doesn't seem to care about, what happened to his mum, or, the way about he's he seems to think Shamila's great and everything. I don't think I could ever forgive that woman. I don't think I could forgive Charlie Boy, really. Not the way, not knowing the way that Diana was just so used. Just for kids, even though he was never in love with her. And it was practically paedophilia because he was 30 and she wasn't even 20. She was 17, wasn't she, or something? So, I don't blame him. And I think this is Harry's problem, I think, if you call it a problem. He can't get over that betrayal of his mum. I don't think he ever has.
I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious.
Oh.
I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. As I learned through the First Nations throughout Canada, because of the Invictus Games, their goal in life was always truth and reconciliation. And I turned around to them in many conversations. I said, right, but reconciliation can't come without truth. Well, I've now found out the truth. I shared some of it with you today.
That's a stunning statement, isn't it, really? I've now found out the truth. What is the truth? So I will be glued to this interview when it comes out. What does it mean? We've now found out the truth. I've found out the truth. What's the truth?
A lot of it exists out there, whether people choose to ignore it or not. So it would be nice to have that reconciliation part now. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them. I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything.
I think he's been quite clever with this interview, because what he's doing is putting it back in their court. He's put it out publicly that he wants reconciliation, but he won't go back to the UK. He can't go back to the UK because his wife and his children aren't safe, because they don't get the proper security. So he's put it firmly in Charlie's court, hasn't he? It's like, right, you want me to come? I want to reconcile. I'm telling the world I want to reconcile, but I'm also telling the world not coming back to the UK unless I've got full security for my wife and children. And personally, I agree with him.
I love my country. I always have done. Despite what some people in that country have done.
Yeah, despite what some people in that country have done, because of course, it's not just his fact. A lot of he's very unpopular with a lot of people. He's took a lot of insults, a lot of flack, etc. But I suppose that's just what at the end of the day, he's a prince, and it's going to happen. But all the royal family get a lot of stick, don't they, one way or another. But so, yeah, let me know what you think in comments. Is he justified in his anger? And do you think they will ever reconcile? And what do you think he's talking about when he says, now I know the truth? Interesting, very interesting. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe. And until I see you again, may your God go with you. Bye.